Hello and welcome to my first ever voiceover for a video, and this is for Bubbly and I's first ever dressage test that was on day 2 of our first show, so there was a lot of firsts this weekend. But yeah, here we enter at a working trot and halt through walk for our salute. And this was our second test of the day, so she was much more distracted in the first one. That was a pretty good halt for, a green horse that's never done this before. Then we have to track right at a working rising trot, and she is very distracted and everything throughout this day for probably what most people would think, but she did get progressively better, and we even had moments of connection like we had right there. And she actually does start to round for me in this test, and she's still looking everywhere, but right there too, she drops down into my contact and continues going around, and then of course has to look at the other horse that's over there. But that's pretty typical. We actually got a 7.5 for that circle, which was one of our better marks. And then again, she's just coming in and out of that contact, which is really all that I'm looking for from her here, just to tune into me for a second. This was a change rein at the rising trot, and we got a 7 on this movement as well, which was again one of our better scores. We got mostly 6s in this test, or 6.5. Coming into walk there, we were a little bit late on that transition, and then she is quite distracted. I found she was most distracted in the walk, and then trying to get her to really stretch down in this free rein walk, or free walk on a loose rein, here. But I needed a little bit more impulsion, I think, just to get her to really stretch down. And like I said, it's her first day and she just could not see enough of anything. So pick her back up, and she needed a little bit more steady through there as well. But here we come around to pick up our working trot, and I did that a little bit early as well. I didn't quite get to A before we got around, and we changed rein again. This one wasn't quite as good. I think we only got a 6.5, but I'm just really enjoying how she's so flowy in her movement still and is starting to relax a little bit more. It was actually a really fun test for me to ride. This is just, she spooked a little there at something. I don't know what it was. But here we go for our second circle. And this is to the left, so she was a racehorse, so this is her way that she doesn't quite bend quite enough, and she was pulling a little on me there. It wasn't quite connection. We did get some nice moments, but yeah, she's definitely more distracted in this circle, and we cut it short. I think the judge did make a comment that we were supposed to, or we would have gotten a really good score there if I hadn't cut the turn, so that was my fault. And then coming up through the center line, I loved that moment there where she actually came down. And then halt wasn't quite square, but pretty good. And yeah, this was just a schooling show. So that was my coach who was calling the test for me. And we got to walk up to the judge, and she talked us through everything. Alright, so this is our training level 1 test. I actually almost didn't enter in this class because we were still working on her leads here, as you'll see later, but she's typical, again, off-the-track thoroughbred style, doesn't like to pick up her right lead. But yeah, here we enter. We got a 6 on here. She's a little bit more... She was a little bit more forward, didn't quite halt square. We had a little bit less connection than when I came in with our last test. Then we had to track left and right away go into our 20-meter circle. And this was actually one of our better marks in this test. As you'll see, we kind of start out really, really good and competitive, and then we come down by the end. But yeah, I was getting really nice moments in here. She was forward. I'm not sure what happened there. She was a little upset about something, but coming down and not actually pulling, she was just dropping for me until she'd get distracted like the horse and then continue going. And we got a 7 on that circle. And then we had to pick up the canter. This is the left lead, so she was better this way. It's definitely not the typical dressage canter you would expect, but we got a 6 on the transition and a 7 on the circle, because she's actually very, very nice when she rounds for me and picks up her back in that canter. That transition was a little early, I believe. That walk was pretty abrupt, and again, it's hard for me to get the connection in the walk. She feels like, I think that she can just kind of look around because she doesn't have to do much when she's walking. And the free walk on a long rein here, trying to get her to take the slack I'm throwing her, and she had a nice walk here, but yeah, she didn't stretch down quite enough and was looking all over the place there. So that was one of the comments again that we got, is she needed to stretch down more. But I was pretty proud of her. There's horses warming up next door because it is just, like I said, a schooling show. So I was pretty happy. So this is where everything kind of falls apart. She's, like I said, a little bit worse this direction. It's funny, her trot is worse one way, and then her canter, she's less balanced the other, which I think is typical for most horses. I'm trying to get her to pick up the, no, this was just my trot circle, sorry. But yeah, so she does quite well here, but we only got a 6 because she's actually neighing there. She's pretty distracted, so she didn't really connect with me at all. We stayed on her track, so that was good. Didn't cut the corner. I learned from my last test, but when we go to pick up the canter here, it all kind of falls apart. She gives me the wrong lead, flying change, but then falls out of it, picks up the wrong lead again, and then does a flying change but is disunited. So then I pull her back, and then the judge just says keep circling, because again, it is a schooling show, but she says try again, try to get the right lead, just bring her back. And she's like, and just keep circling until you feel ready. So then I felt ready, and I tried to pick it up, and she didn't give it to me, which is my fault. I know I'm asking her incorrectly. A little bit of both of us. She's stiff this way, and then she has a flying change for me, and we circle one more time just for good measure, and then continue on with our test. But yeah, we kind of went from 6 and 7s in the first half to 4s and 5s and 4.5, and then here again, so through it all, she's pretty stiff after that canter. Our halt, she was good, and then yeah, so she's so pretty. Anyways, for our very first test ever, and I almost wasn't even going to enter because I was worried about the canter transition. I figured it's a schooling show, so why not? And the judge gave us a lot of good advice, which I was really excited about. One thing that was pretty amazing, though, is that she ended up winning this really cool award. So over the whole weekend, they were watching all the different thoroughbreds. This award was designed in honor of the organizer's thoroughbred, who was like her heart horse, one could say, who passed away last year. And there is now an award, and it's for the thoroughbred that has the most heart. So as you can see on that ribbon there, that's what it said, thoroughbred displaying the most heart. And because Bubbly and I improved quite dramatically over the weekend from each day from our first class to our last class, and even managed to get a couple firsts in our walk trot dressage tests, which we're only out of a few people, but still pretty awesome. And even a second and a third in our show jumping rounds the day before. After having some pretty crazy, tests and rounds before that, we ended up being the ones nominated and winning that award. So could not be more proud of her. She was just amazing that weekend, and I'm so lucky to have her. So that's it for our first ever dressage show. And again, I'm a new eventer since I started training with my new coach and fell in love with it. So that was also my very first dressage test ever. First, second, and third, I guess, that day, but we didn't get my first walk trot on video. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you liked this type of video. I know dressage can be pretty boring, and I prefer to watch it when they have, or the riders have done voiceovers, just to kind of explain what they were thinking and how they were going. So that's what I did, and hopefully you guys liked it, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.